So my name is Becca Cook, and I'm an autistic self-taught outsider artist. You can see behind me some of my work. I am located in the Southeast United States where I do a lot of different art shows, and I also work as an animal communicator and caregiver. And so I'm going to be your guide today, and we're going to go through some slides. So we're going to do a Google slideshow. I've curated 6 art-based tools for our summer camp today. These different tools can be used in any way. Please feel free to create your own ways of doing things too if you want to. I like to start by expressing that no perfection is necessary. All of these art tools that I'm going to share with you today are here for you. It's really an artistic expression for yourself, not to create art for some kind of commercial purpose necessarily. This is all about self-care and some healthy ways that we can use creative expression. I'm a painter, a doll maker. I make puppets. I've built stages and different things for puppet shows. I've also written stories for. I like to write songs, poetry. And I also like to do fiber arts. Traditional fiber art was something within my family that I learned. So that's also under my umbrella of different creative things that I do. Um, this is a collage that I created digitally with some of my favorite little fun things, uh, which we're going to talk about collage. So let me go ahead and start by introducing our 6 art-based tools. They're going to help us process emotion, soothe sensory overwhelm, and ground ourselves. And so those 6 can be found here. So these are what we're going to go through today. We have daily journal. I know that daily word kind of sounds scary because it sounds like homework, but it doesn't have to be daily. It's just really there for you. For me personally, I do a daily journal, and we'll go over some ideas that we can use to create our own journaling experience. We also have repetitive craft, which is a form of stimming for me, and we'll go over some of those self-regulating tools that we can use. Collage for clarity is just a fun exercise that I do as a community activity, also by myself. So that's something that we'll go over. Destroy this art. It's always fun to be destructive. Destroying art can be a great way to blow off some steam, and we'll go through that as well. I also would like to go through body tracing, which is a way that I'm able to bridge the gap between mind and body. As an autistic person, I tend to be in my head a lot and struggle sometimes with connecting back into the body. So we're going to go through that with body tracing. And then we have visual rituals, which are daily creative practices, maybe less of the artistic end of things, more into creativity as a tool that we can use in our daily lives. And so we'll go ahead and start with daily journal. So you're going to see a collage of images here. I'm going to try to take myself out of this bottom corner so you can see that picture too. All right, there we go. So daily journal ideas. You can see in the top left corner, there's a stack of journals. Those are several of my journals that I have kind of laying around my house. I have journals in every room, living room, in my backpack, in my car. They just kind of are everywhere. And they're really a dumping ground in a sense of the things that I'm feeling, things that I'm experiencing. There is no linear quality to these journals. I just write as I need to in each one. There can be gaps of time in between entries. There's, of course, no perfection, as I was talking about before. It's really just a way to process things. I think visually, so I don't think in words. All of my feelings, emotions, everything I'm sensing is going to come through in a visual form for me personally. That's just how I experience the world. So these are different ways that I use my journal. So next to this picture of the journals, you're going to see this crayon swirly drawing. It's very rough. It's just really scribbling with crayons. Sometimes that's a great way for me to express my emotion outside of my body. Emotion to me is in color. Colors are emotions, if that makes any sense whatsoever. I do have various forms of synesthesia, so these kind of connections happen. But I really love coloring in the color that I feel that I'm feeling at the time. It kind of helps me have an outlet where I can push that emotion outside of myself into my journal where it has a container. And then next to that, you're going to see this Ingles sign, which is a grocery store in our area here in the Southeast United States. This is just something that I saw. I was at an art show. There's a little story next to it written. It says, "This is the sign that was right outside of our motel room door." And I just thought it was a cool sign. It was an old neon sign. And so I drew it in crayon. So sometimes we can use our journal to record things that we're seeing. Next to that, you're going to see this more surrealist crayon drawing. There's this figure with wings standing next to the ocean with a ship behind them. This is more of a subconscious view of how I was feeling on this day. Being chained to the ship is like being chained to our purpose. This is definitely a emotional picture, something that I was feeling at that time. That came out in metaphor and symbolism because that's the way that I think. So I was able to express that feeling in a visual format in my journal. And then the next picture on the bottom, we have, of course, writing in a journal. How novel of an idea. You could write poetry. I could write the way I feel. In my journals, you can find recipes that I found, maybe special interests that I wanted to write about so that it has a place to go. Journals are great because as an autistic minded person, the amount of information that I'm processing can be way too much for me to just talk about to my friends, to my family. Not everybody wants to hear several hours of whatever special interest that I'm processing through, but my journals are fine for that. My journals are great outlets for that. So I'm able to express those things. Now, the last one on the bottom right corner is just a crayon rubbing of leaves. I work outside a lot, so I like to incorporate nature elements in my journals. I might rub a leaf, press flowers in my journal, write about, maybe draw a landscape that I'm seeing. Those are various ways that I can incorporate nature into my journals as well. So I hope these give you some ideas of how you can use a journal. It's really just a free form exercise, no pressure involved. There's no perfection. We're not doing this for other people to see or really look at. It's really just for ourselves. And so let's go to the next slide. So the next tool that we're going to talk about is repetitive craft. Repetitive craft is a great exercise for me because it's a form of stimming. I found at an early age that if I crocheted, that was a socially acceptable form of stimming. When I was a child, I used to struggle with wanting to stim and getting in trouble a lot at school, not being able to sit still in my desk and all these different things. And so I found that doing repetitive craft in different forms were safe spaces for me to stim where it was just accepted by other people. I wish all forms of stimming were acceptable, and they slowly, I think, are becoming that way as we advocate more for ourselves. So on the left, you're going to see this crochet piece. Also on the right, there's a crochet doll that is Sunny Bunny. I like to make dolls that have all forms of emotion. Sunny Bunny is a little bit sad, as you can see in his face, but it's just a fun thing to create. Also, we have beading on the top. You can see where I have been making beads out of rowan berries and sewing them on a long piece of string. This is just a repetitive activity that I enjoy doing. Next to that, you're going to see a Zentangle drawing where I'm creating forms, sometimes repeating the same shape over and over again in just pen and ink and paper. Um, and then they can grow into their own organic compositions. Underneath that, you're going to see a rug that I've made. Tying knots over and over again to do rug making is another thing I find soothing. And then next to that is hand sewing. Hand quilting is another repetitive craft that is a stimming activity I enjoy doing. These are ones I enjoy doing, but there's several others. There's Lego building, model building, um, so many different kinds of repetitive crafts out there. I know during the pandemic, I got really into diamond painting and color by number, which those kits can be easily found. There's also a lot of great model kits that can be found. Cake decorating is another repetitive craft that's great. So you can really take this idea and go anywhere with it. But it's really a self soothe tool. It's a way that I can soothe all the jitters and all of the anxiety kind of feelings inside from just being berated by a very um, overly sensory mind that I have can just go haywire. So it's really good to have these repetitive crafts that kind of center me, bring me back into myself, and soothe those different experiences. So for our next tool, we're going to go to Collage for clarity. And here you're going to see three different ways that collage can be accomplished. I'm actually going to a collage class right after this recording. So the first collage that you see on the left was actually created by my friend Michelle, who hosts soul collage classes, which are available here in Asheville, the Asheville area where I live. Um, there may be one in your area. If you look up soul collage, maybe you can find somebody that does them there. It's also a great activity to do with friends. Invite friends over and have a bunch of magazines and have a collage session. Um, this collage on the left is made traditionally with paper. You can see the swirls are made with stickers, and there's an actual real feather also attached to this traditional paper collage. Um, it's a wonderful way to just find things that you like in magazines and glue them together. See what you come up with. I find that a lot of times for me personally, I can delve into my subconscious in this way, in this collage aspect. I'll cut out images that appeal to me, and then after I'm done with my collage, I can investigate and see how are these different images connected. I really enjoy that process, and sometimes it can bring me different feelings I was feeling and maybe not able to identify. So the second collage here, we have our friend Kermit the Frog. This is a screenshot of a digital collage that I created on TikTok. I really enjoy doing digital collage. And digital collage is something that I do a lot if I'm in a burnout mode because it doesn't take any craft supplies. I don't have to dig out any pens or papers. Everything can be found inside of my cell phone, inside of my computer. And so this Kermit collage is actually a video where Kermit is dancing. And then at the bottom, you'll see Shirley Temple. I was trying to remember her name. Shirley Temple laughing at Kermit dancing. And in the background is a glitch screen I found on the internet. I just screenshotted it because I thought it was interesting, and I put some rainbow filters on it to make it have this effect. This can be seen on TikTok. My TikTok is called UFO Studio. If you're interested in looking that up, you can see several digital collages that I've created. Um, and so usually I take a background of an image that maybe I alter, and then on top of that, I use things from the GIF library, stickers that can be found on the TikTok app, um, and put those on there. And so the third collage over to the right is more of a three-dimensional assemblage piece. This is made out of a wooden snake toy, a box I found at a Goodwill, an old Barbie doll and air dry clay, pieces of lace that I found, some beads, and some old interior design fabric. Hot glue and gold paint will get you anywhere, is what is one of my mantras. Gold paint makes everything look fancy. And so this is just a way that you can collage different three-dimensional objects to create a sculptural piece. Um, Collage is just a fun way to create with items that are already in existence. It's just a easier form of creation. So collage for clarity is a great one. So we're going to go ahead and go to our second three tools that we will explore. But first, let's just kind of shake it out. Let's breathe in. It's a lot of information. Breathe out before we go to the next half of our session. I hope you're getting some good ideas, and I hope you're making some notes for some different things that maybe you'll do after this session. So we're going to go to the next slide, which is destroy this art. Destruction can be a great way to experience creativity in a way that is transformative. Often, as an autistic person, I can get stuck in rumination. Rumination Station is the name. I should have it across my forehead. I love to brood. I love to dwell. Those are two of my favorite things. And so, destroy this art is something that helps me get out of that rumination, get out of that overthinking that of stresses of the world or stresses in my life. And so, you'll see on the bottom left this person holding a seashell with a little fire in it. Burn rituals are something that I really enjoy doing with art. Um, Monthly, I do this actually as a monthly practice where I'll write down things that I want to let go of for that month, and then I'll burn it in a safe container. Please be sure that if you are doing anything with fire, that you're using fire safe containers to do so. But really, it's a process of letting go in a physical form. So you can write down things that you want to let go of, whether they're ideas, whether it's, endings of some kind. It could even be grief. If you're grieving anything that needs to be let go of, you can write it down on a piece of paper or draw a little simple image. Any of these things, just pull it out of yourself, put it on a paper, and then that process of watching that paper burn as you're letting that thing go can be very powerful because you're putting it in a physical aspect. So again, another way to destroy this art. Above that, you'll see this journal where I have these pieces of paper cut up. So this was another way of letting go, another way of transformative art. I was feeling really poorly, really sorry for myself one day, just really mad about a lot of things and going through a really big transformative area of life, having to let go of a lot of things and feeling real bad about it. And so I just decided to write about it. And I just poured out every bad feeling, everything I was mad about, everything I was sad about. And I just poured it out into this journal and wrote every single feeling I had. And I let it sit for a couple of days just so it can exist because our feelings are valid and they are very important. Um, I do truly believe that. So I just kind of let these feelings exist. And then after a couple of days, I tore the pages out and I cut each page into several of these kind of feather shapes. They were not perfect. Again, perfection is not something that we're striving for here. So, but I just cut each page up into these jagged feather shaped pieces and I slowly scotch taped them together in the form of wings, which you see in the image. The rainbow on top is actually I have these rainbow prisms hanging in my window, and so that is a reflection on the journal itself, which I really just like that image. I like the idea of taking all of the things that I was feeling bad about and understanding that I could rise above them. I built these wings because just like in the past when difficult life situations happen, I was able to rise above. Just like in the future when things arise, I will be able to rise above. And this is just that exercise of it's okay to feel all of the feelings, but it's also okay to transform that in a way where we know that we can continue to move forward in life. And so next to this, you'll see this paper, you'll see this blender with this slurry in it. Behind it is the screen in front is some botanical elements. With all this journal writing that I do and a lot of art processing that I do, I often have a lot of failed projects. I often have a lot of journal pages I rip out and ball up and threw it on the floor because it wasn't really coming out the way I wanted it to. Um, this goes for a lot of different things. So, but I do save those things. I save those fail, quote unquote, failures, I guess. And then I blend them up in a blender with some water and botanicals, and I make new paper. And so you'll see on the very other side, on the right hand side, three pieces of paper there with some botanical elements drying on a towel. And so I'll let these papers dry and then I can use them to write notes to my friends, to write poetry on, whatever really, and just reuse um, that paper. So this is a destroy this art section. I hope you enjoy. I hope you find fun ways to destroy art and share with me because I'm always interested in that. We're going to go ahead and go to body tracing. Body tracing is something I use to express ways that I feel that are complicated, maybe not understood by neurotypical people that are in my family or in my friend groups. Um, I've actually even taken some body tracing images into the doctor's office uh, with me to kind of share. This is in a visual format how I'm feeling. One exercise I like to do with body tracing, and I've done this with classes, is we actually do it in chalk outside where we trace around our entire body and we can write positive or whatever, draw pictures, positive affirmations, different things on different parts of our body. Kind of reminds us that we have this physical body. I don't know if this is your experience, but my experience is that I really do struggle with that mind body connection. And so this is very helpful to me. So you'll see in this first image on the left, it looks like an x ray of my head. And that's what I was meaning to draw here. And you can see this like little guy in the middle that is uh, controlling all of these different aspects. This is an image that is expressing verbal communication and my struggle with it. One thing that you'll notice is one of the eyes is missing. I am visually impaired. I'm blind in my left eye from birth. And so that eye missing is definitely a nod to that I experience blindness in my left eye. And you'll see at the top of the skull, there's all these little squares, these little white squares, and each one is representative of like a little video because my mind thinks in video clips and images. You'll see these little speakers coming out of the ear, and it's almost like this assembly line situation where it's just processing. This guy is chained to these keys where he's having to step on each key individually. The mouth has a paper coming out that says, I am here in words. So it's really just explaining the process of having to translate this visual imagery brain into words and how it feels very taxing and it can feel very difficult for me at times. So the next one over, the next image over is a self portrait. And this is how I feel when my sensory overwhelm is at peak. You can see it looks almost as if my face is very, very, you can barely see it. You just see one eye kind of, it looks like it's underwater because sometimes when I'm experiencing sensory overwhelm, it does in a way feel like I'm drowning. And so this is very much an image that represents that feeling. Next to that image, you're going to see another very wavy, colorful, the one on the top, the very wavy and colorful imagery. And this is called sound maps. I see sounds as much as they are audio, they are visual to me. I have synesthesia, and that's one of the forms that I have. Um, so this sound map is a representation of how I hear sound or how I see sound. And so I drew that so I can explain to people this is how I see sound. Below that is another little painting that I created, and it's a body tracing of my head again. And there's all these little cars in line. inside of the mouth, there's two cars. Each driver is kind of hanging out of the window with his fist up, like, why I oughta, at the other one. And above it, it says, sometimes talking is not possible because every word turns into a car and there's a traffic jam happening behind my mouth. And I really like this image because it represents how I actually feel when I'm not able to speak, when I'm experiencing mutism. My word processor will just shut down and I'm not able to. I shared this also on social media when I painted it, and I thought it was great because I connected with other people that have experienced this as well. One of my friends actually stutters and has a stuttering problem and said this is what it feels like when they're experiencing that. So, art can also be a great way which we can connect to each other, where we can share experiences that we have that others may share. And so now we're on our very last tool. Our very last tool is visual ritual, which is a fun creative process. It's less about art supplies and more about just creating different um, things within our daily life. Visual ritual is very important to me um, and in the way that I experience and focus myself. So you'll see here on the left, there's a rock grid, a crystal grid. I worked in metaphysical shops a lot, so I have pretty extensive rock collection and I like to form them in different geometrical patterns. And each month I will do a new one. Each month I will have a goal or intention that I'm thinking of when I build it. And it's in the middle of my living room. So I walk by it several times during the month. And it is a feedback loop. It helps me to remember this is the intention I set for the month. And this is the thing to focus on. So it's a great, beautiful piece, not only beautiful in its display of different crystals and rocks, but also is reminding me of something that I wanted to think about. Again, with notes, I do that. You'll see at the top, there's this little note. It says, our creative consciousness is not limited. This is a note I got from my tea that I put next to where I drink coffee because it's a little reminder I like to read and remind myself. Underneath that, you'll see this orange garland. I like to hang those in my windows when winter starts. It's a way of bringing the sunshine in the house during our long, dark months during winter. This just helps me with seasonal depression, kind of bringing that sunshine, that good energy into the house. Above that is a little glass of kombucha. This is a new ritual that I just implemented this summer, but brewing kombucha is another thing that keeps me grounded. I love doing kitchen experiments, and it's very much a science experiment. I have two scobies named Mork and Mindy, which I create all this beautiful kombucha from. Really enjoy doing that. And then last but not least, we have these lavender smudge sticks that I created. There's a lavender field, lavender farm near me, which I got this lavender from. And I created these smudge sticks that I like to use in my art studio. And it kind of gives me something to switch gears. I can struggle with switching gears sometimes. And so these smudge sticks help because I'll smudge my art studio and then I know, okay, it's time to make art. So those are our 6 tools. I hope that you enjoyed that. Um, I hope that you got some good creative inspiration from somewhere, something in here, and please share it with me because I would really, really love to see what people create. I'm really excited to see the other guides that we have and all of the other amazing programming that we have for Casey's Summer of Self-Care. And I hope that you're able to participate in as much as that as possible. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. And I appreciate all of you. I'll see you around at Casey. Bye-bye.